the numbers that we're hearing would be well below, probably half to what he's worth. And to be honest, if he went on the open market, it's probably only a third of what he would get on the open market.
This is the Billy Slater Podcast. Of course, it's all thanks to Tab. So much to discuss after an action-packed round 3 of the NRL. How are you, Billy?
I'm good, thanks, Salty. I was just actually looking through the ladder and I see 2 unbeaten teams in the competition after 3 rounds. Obviously, the Melbourne Storm had the bye, but they're still unbeaten. They're 2 from 2. And the only team that is 3 from 3 are the Bulldogs. And for the Tigers fans, get excited. Your team's in the top 4 at the moment and have conceded the least amount of points. So just a little squeeze through the ladder, and that's what I come up with.
Mate, we touched on that last week, didn't we, about the Tigers' defence? And there they are, the least amount of points. That includes some of those teams that have had the bye already. So, well done to Benji. I know we'll cover off on them and plenty of the other action from the weekend, but it's no fluke after 3 rounds that they are where they are.
Yeah, and they've got some quality players that they injected into their squad over the summer, and they're doing a good job. They scored 30 points against the Dolphins on the weekend, so the game was on the line, and they got the job done in those tight situations. So a step forward for the Tigers.
Well, over the course of this week's podcast, we will go through some of the talking points following round 3. We'll have the latest nominees for the Billy M Awards. Boy, some players put their hand up over the weekend. A few teams did as well, too, for Team of the Week. So, tough one for you, Billy, to think about.
I know. I've been thinking long and hard, and I've got my Team of the Week and I've got my Player of the Week. So you'll have to wait for that one.
All right, hold fire because we'll get to that a little bit later on. Now, you watched the Bulldogs yesterday take care of the Eels. First up, a word on the Eels, much more competitive.
Much improved. I think Jason Ryles said it well in his post-match press conference. He said there was more fight in their performance. There still is a whole heap of work to do at Parramatta. To be fair, Salty, I thought it was a pretty boring game. I thought it was a bit of a slug match. They fought hard, the Eels, and the Bulldogs were a far superior team, and that's what they hang their hat on, the Bulldogs. They work hard for one another, and they're a really hard-working football team, and that's where they gain their momentum. They were without 2 of their stars in Matt Burton and Viliami Kikau. I thought Bailey Hayward did a great job in the 6th jersey, and everyone really stepped up and they just grinded out that victory. And sometimes to be consistent, you need to win those tough, ugly sort of football games that continue notching up 2 points. And the Bulldogs are sitting pretty up at the top of the ladder because of that. So, but yeah, in terms of Parramatta, it was a much improved performance, but there still is a lot of work to be done.
You just touched on something there, Billy, picking up on the Bulldogs and that ability to win ugly. We talk about Melbourne over the years, Penrith in recent times, and you look at the Panthers even last year, there were occasions where many of us thought, they've fallen away. Look how they only just got over the line against the Dolphins. I remember there was a game last year that Nathan Cleary iced at the end, and there were other victories like that. But that's the key, isn't it? A lot of teams lose those games, but the good ones find a way.
Yeah, and the other thing is it is such a long season, 24 games. They've got to play 24 games. So to be consistent through that year puts you in a really good position on the table. But then the other thing is you've got to be playing your best football at the right time of the year. I remember in 2012, we lost 5 in a row through the middle part of the year, and we ended up winning the competition. So as long as you're consistent through the majority of the year, and then you're winning some tight games to put you in a good ladder position, and then the key is to play your best footy in September and October. And if you can do that, you give yourself the best chance to win the comp.
Now, we talk about playing good footy, and yesterday taught us that a week is a long time in footy. Manly a week ago, well beaten against the Warriors. What about that 15, 20-minute period late in the first half where they just blew Canberra off the park yesterday and really it was contest all over after that?
Yeah, it was. They're a tough team to play at Brookvale, Manly, and they had a little bit of a helping hand by the Raiders going down to 12 men, and that certainly didn't help the Raiders' situation. But they went to work, Manly. And I thought without Tom Trbojevic, Daly Cherry-Evans, he really stood up and he was probably the best player on the field. Ruben Garrick picked up 4 tries, and I thought Hamoli Olakawatu on the right-hand side was just so damaging. They're really working out the best way to use him and to bring him into the game and use his strengths. They're a team that look as damaging as anyone, the way that they play. I love their style. I love the way that they use the full width of the field, and they use their key players, in particular Daly, to get the ball to those strike players. So they don't all gravitate towards the ball. They allow their key men to get the footy to them, and they're hard to stop when they get on a roll, because when they get one try, they generally get 2, 3, 4 tries in clumps, and that's what happened against the Raiders, and the Raiders were pretty much gone by half time.
Righto, Billy. Does DCE play until he's 40? There's a question for you.
Well, he plays until he's 37, 38, that's for sure. I don't have any doubts about that. 40's a tough. I'm only 42, and I'll tell you what, it'll take a bit to lace the boots up again, but I'm not even 42. I'm only 41. I'm 42 in June. So, look, it's a tough one. We were talking about this on the Sunday Footy Show about the deal that Manly have put in front of him, and by all reports, and we don't know the details of it, only the Manly Sea Eagles and Daly, and listening to Daly speak, it doesn't sound like there's any fractures with the organisation and his management. So, look, I think it'll get done. But the numbers that we're hearing would be well below, probably half to what he's worth. And to be honest, if he went on the open market, it's probably only a third of what he would get on the open market. And the way that he played yesterday, that the form that he is in his career right now, he stays at Manly. At the end of the day, he's just got to stay at Manly. They've got to find a way to do this. The game has to find a way to do this, because he's a Manly boy. He's been there his whole career, and it'd be a shame if he had to finish his career, his last 2 years, somewhere else because of the salary cap. So, that just gets done for me.
But just on DCE, and give an insight for us, Billy, if you can, just on Daly. I mean, I think the bloke is an out-and-out champion. He's great to talk to, whether it be in a setting like this, behind the microphone or privately. He's just a really good guy to chat with. But put your coach's hat on, Billy. What's he like with that player-coach relationship? I'd hazard a guess to say he'd be just one of those delights to coach.
Yeah, well, I played with Daly, so I was a teammate before I was his coach, and he, like you say, Salty, he is a great fella. He is a great bloke to start with. Good teammate, good mate. One of those guys that is infectious within the group. Obviously, he's a leader, and he's the captain of the Manly Sea Eagles. He's the captain of the Queensland State of Origin team, and he connects with everyone. He connects with the youngest player, he connects with the oldest player, and he still loves what he's doing. He's still got a great energy about his training. He's ultra professional. So, yeah, like there's no reason why he can't continue to play on. How long that is for, well, who knows? Like, at the end of the day, it just should be his decision and his performances that determine how long he plays on for. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just does it year by year and it's just a rolling contract, and his form or his decision will ultimately determine whether he hangs the boots up or not. But the way he's going, there's no sign of slowing down.
Yeah, and why should he slow down and move on just because some might say it's time to? I think sometimes...
It's only a number,
Billy,
Salty. It's only a number. Yeah,
we're too quick, aren't we, sometimes? I'm not saying you and I do it, but others certainly do it. I remember when Cameron was playing his last year in 2020, many were saying, when's he going to tell us to retire? You know what? You don't have to tell anybody. If you feel like playing, keep playing.
That's a great situation to refer to, because the Melbourne Storm didn't put any pressure on him. And Cameron Smith, he's pretty relaxed. He didn't put any pressure on himself, and he took his time, and he actually finished the grand final. They won the comp in 2020, and he still hadn't made a decision. He made the decision over the break. So, look, I think that, not that that's, you have to do it that way, but I think there was a lot of respect involved from the club. There was a lot of respect, from player to the club as well, and you earn that respect from longevity. Let's not forget, Daly's a premiership winner at Manly, and the only premiership player in this Manly Sea Eagles team, and they're fighting for another one. They're well within the space to grab another trophy in the next couple of years, and Daly would be a big part of that.
Yeah, he certainly would be. Now, as far as this week is concerned, we were highlighted by the game that kicked off the round on Thursday night, Melbourne v Penrith. You've had a few days to think about this one. Billy, what's your main takeaway out of Melbourne's win and that gallant performance by Penrith to play 72 of the 80 minutes without Nathan?
Yeah, I thought it was an incredibly courageous effort by the Panthers and testament to what they've done over the last 5 years, losing player after player in the off-season, and then they just rejuvenate all these young Western Sydney guys that come through and become mainstays in their football team. And then they had to do it on the run. Nathan very rarely goes off in a game, and he went off. It was only about 12 minutes into the contest, and he went off the field, and they had to adjust. They had Blaise Talangi on the bench. He got injected into the halves next to another young guy in Jack Cole, and I thought they really stood up. They actually played their best football with Nathan off the field, which is quite strange. And I'm not sure if Melbourne took their foot off the accelerator a little bit, or the Panthers just changed their style and put a lot more pressure on them. Either way, it was an incredible performance by the Panthers, and it was probably the reason why the team that lost was more proud of their performance than the team that won. I know Craig Bellamy was a little bit disappointed with some complacency that had crept into his side and in the middle of the match or in the halfway through that first half. But yeah, I'm a bit of glass half full sort of a person as well, and the Melbourne Storm certainly looked in sync in that first 20 minutes, and then a few things went against them and they didn't quite recapture that form, but they still did enough to win. And I think they were without a couple of players. They had a couple of outside backs that went off the field. Will Warbrick didn't play. Jahrome Hughes, talk about courageous efforts. He played 3/4 of the game with a broken hand. So it was one of those matches that lived up to the hype.
But just on that with Jahrome playing a lot of the game with a broken hand, boy, we did see some courageous efforts over the weekend. I think we do in every game when you really dive into each game that we see. But two standouts on the weekend was Jahrome and going to Friday night in the early match with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He tore his hamstring and then jumped back in the defensive line and saved a try in a tight match. It was a really big moment there from RTS. Yeah,
well, potentially saved the game. It was a close contest. It was 6-4 for a long time in that match, and one of those really wet, grindy games. Roger, being the team player he is, he tore his hamstring only moments before this incident, and then got back in the defensive line. They went down his side, and a diving, try-saving tackle on Dominic Young, which is that's an effort and a half, and I'm sure they'll be celebrating that internally in the Warriors squad and in their review, and certainly deserves to be as well, because that Jahrome Hughes playing with a broken hand, and we're soon quick to critique and criticise players at certain times. Sometimes we just got to remember how tough they are and what they put themselves through, and the commitment they give their team, the commitment they give the game, and the commitment they give us to create an entertainment product. And sometimes we just got to remember that a little bit more.
Right, here. Couldn't agree more. As a fan of the game and as a commentator, I just take my hat off to these guys. I mean, you just got to look at, because I know I'm going to move on to very soon talk about the Gold Coast Titans. I think anyone that stands in front of Tino Fa'asuamaleaui or Payne Haas for the Broncos, just testament to how brave you have to be out in that field.
Well, that's why I put 12 guys in between me and them. That's the smart thing about wearing the number 1 jersey, is you put 12 guys in between you and Tino or Payne or anyone else, really.
Yeah. Oh, dear. But West Tigers touched on them right at the start. Let's talk about their performance against the Dolphins. From 18-6 down, they did not concede another point and went on to record a very impressive victory against the Dolphins at Dolphin Oval on Saturday.
Yeah, no, they're going along nicely. I actually spoke to Benji Marshall at Combank Stadium last week, and he's really upbeat about his side. Really, you could tell the energy just talking to him about where his football team's at the moment and what they are trying to do. He's really excited about this group, and he's got some really experienced players, some players that have won premierships, some players that have represented their state and their country, and I think they're growing into a nice team. I think they'll play finals this year, Salty, and it's all off the back of their key position players. But then that doesn't work without everyone else doing their job. I think Terrell May has been exceptional. He's a real leader in the middle of the field, and often playing the first half without a break. So doing things like Tino and Pat Carrigan and Payne Haas. Doing numbers, setting numbers and setting standards like that in the forward pack. And then their halves are doing a wonderful job. Jerome Luai, Lockie Galvin, Api Coruscant, scored that try right at the end, but they didn't panic when they were 18-6 down, and they just worked their way back into the game. They've got plenty of attack in their game, and it's not going to be super consistent the whole year. So there's going to be times where it doesn't work, and they're going to have to go back a little bit and just get that balance right between using the football and playing the percentage play. But at the moment, they're on the road to where they want to get to, and they're taking steps forward.
Yeah, well done to the Tigers, and I know quite a few Tigers fans around southeast Queensland. A few of them were there and really enjoyed themselves seeing the team in action on Saturday. Titans fans would have enjoyed what they saw on their first home game of the season, just their second game of the season, and they were very good against Newcastle on Saturday night. They grounded out an impressive victory, Billy. Yeah,
they started well. They were really disappointing in the first game of their season, which was round 2 against the Bulldogs. They were blown off the park in the first half, and they just couldn't keep up with the pace of the game. But it was chalk and cheese. They really started well, and they were playing against a team that were unbeaten in this round 3 fixture. And the Newcastle Knights have been playing some great footy, but they went out there and they just went after their game. I thought their starting pack, RCG, Big Tino, Mo Fodawaker was great. What about the shot he put on Adam Elliott? Big Mo. That was that's again why you put 12 players in between you. But they're a work in progress as well. They're going to build throughout the year. They got a new spine. They pretty much got the Melbourne Storm blueprint and 3 fullbacks and a dummy half in their key positions. So you think of Brimson and Campbell, they're both traditional fullbacks moving into the halves, which are doing a great job. So very dangerous football team, and if they get it right, well, they'll keep anyone on their toes.
You mentioned Mo. Can tell you, Billy, he had gastro last week, so his energy levels would have been down, and he still produced what he produced on Saturday night.
He was brilliant. Well, you wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have known unless this sort of information comes out. Unless Jahrome Hughes, the news comes out that he had a break. You wouldn't even know. He threw that match-winning pass over into the corner, and Mo Fodawaker. Well, there you go. He's been sick all week, and he probably dropped a few kgs. He might have been able to run a bit further, Big Mo. But
you said that.
He's a good man, Mo, but when he gets out on the field, you can see that aggression that he does bring, and when he dipped his shoulder and he's seen the opportunity to drive it into the opposition, well, he took that chance.
Absolutely, he did. 2 other quick things to talk about after round 3. The Sharks' performance against South Sydney did enough to record a good win at home on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, the Sharkies they're a funny old team. I've always thought the Sharks get their energy from their attack. A lot of teams really focus on the defensive side of the game, which is probably the right way to think. But there's certainly some teams that should really nail their attack, and when they do nail their attack, boy, they defend a lot better. It energises their defence. And I think the Sharks are one of those teams. And when you kick the ball to the Sharks, you better have your kick chase in order because, they can score from anywhere. They've, Kennedy, their back three in, is it Stone Street?
Stone Street, yeah, Sam
Stone Street and Mulatalo. They're wonderful athletes and they're willing to use the football. They're brave. Cal Ito, he got back there for some kick returns as well. So, there was a couple of really nice tries from kick returns. And it was, on the flip side, a little bit disappointing with the kick chase from the South Sydney team. So I'm sure Wayne Bennett will be, picking that apart and making sure that they iron those creases out. But they're a beautiful attacking team. And young Trindle played exceptional, couple of 40-20s, scored a try himself. And he was brilliant.
Yeah, he's playing really well, isn't he, young Braden Trindle? And good to see him too, isn't it? I love the enthusiasm that he brings out on the field as well, Billy.
He connected really well with Nico. I think that combination will flourish as well. He's, only 18 months together, those two? Because Matt Moylan was the sixth only a couple of years ago. So, young Trindle, he's a real good player, and so is Nico Hines. So if they can get that chemistry to work in the halves and bring their strike players in, Britton Nicoda, they're a team. So obviously the biggest question mark will come in September for the Sharks, and that won't go away until they answer that. But they're on the right track. Yeah,
they are. But just one other one, if I can touch on with you. Friday night, the Broncos doing enough to get over a improved Cowboys team. One of the talking points was Reece Walsh being put on report, and he took the early plea, a fine for coming across with the shoulder on Murray Taulagi. We've spoken about this before. I know you've brought it up on the footy show over the years, Billy, and just to explain to those listening and watching now, just take us through. So what, I know that the rules are there, you can't make contact with the shoulder, but is it right with what you've said in the past that what Reece did was in fact the safest way to come across in cover, and there's increased chance of injury if you do lead with your arms?
Yeah, look, I don't think there's a black and white rule. I don't think there's a black and white answer for this either, Salty. It's a tough one because our field is a rectangle, and you've got one player running down the sideline trying to score a try right near the corner post. You've got another player running across the try line trying to save a try. So they're all going effectively to the same blade of grass at a 90-degree angle. It's a really tough situation unless we make our field a semicircle on the corner, so the player with the football can run on a bit of an angle. Yeah. You're always going to have this conversation. Look, to be honest, I think the right outcome has happened. I think it's the right outcome. Look, you certainly have to be conscious not to hit anyone in the head, whether they're diving for a try, whether they're standing up, whether they're, however they're running. You've got to have a duty of care to try not to hit anyone in the head. But at the same time, you've got a duty to play the game. You've got a duty to compete. We're an entertainment product, and if we stop competing, well, the product's not going to be as good as what it can be. So I think that, put it this way, you'd rather your player competing in that situation than not competing. So it's not a black and white conversation around this. It's not he's right, he's not. There's just got to be a little bit of understanding of the whole situation, and I think there has been. And the fine is like, hey, we need to be careful in this situation, but at the same time, we don't want you to stop competing. So it's a tricky one. I've been in this situation before. I've been in that environment, and you're heading flat out 100 mile an hour into the same area to another person. It's like an intersection. I'm trying to make a decision at the last minute going flat out. So unless we have traffic lights in that corner, we might be able to solve it.
Put up a stop go man or something like that. Yeah.
Lollipop man, you reckon?
That's it. Good stuff and great explanation. All right, this is the Billy Slater Podcast, and it's all thanks to Tab.
Fans always ask, Lozza, what was the best era of league? And I tell them, nothing beats the line-breaking, flick-passing, goose-stepping, Vegas flying, turbo try-scoring, origin drought-breaking, simply the best era of footy we're in right now. And with more market stats and insights, it's easy to enjoy the best era in footy with the best app in footy.
Tab. We're on.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Time now for the Billy M Medal, the best player and the best team from each week. Thank you very much to the team at Tab. All right, Billy, a few contenders here. Who's your best team following round 3 of the NRL?
Well, my best team is not actually the best performance from the weekend. It's the team that hasn't lost a game, and that's the Bulldogs. So many teams, the Raiders, the Knights, the South Sydney Rabbitohs, so many teams have come into this round undefeated, but there's only one team that has played 3 games and that has won all of those 3 games, and that's the Bulldogs. And you know, they're the team of the week purely because they've been able to do it. No other team has been able to win 3 on the trot. I know the Melbourne Storm have had a bye in there and they've won 2, but they're the only team to front up in the first 3 rounds and win all 3 games. So the Bulldogs are the team of the week.
And they did it without their 5'8" and without one of their most, I suppose, decorated players in back row of Viliami Kikau. So they had a few excuses if they hadn't have won yesterday.
Well, one's their main kicker, so he sets up their game, and the other one is their pressure player. He's their kick pressure. He's their line speed guy. He's their guy they look to create momentum when they shift the ball off Kurt Mann. Like that's character. That's building a culture when you can be without 2 of your, not just key players, 2 of your most influential players that are infectious within your group. To do it without those 2, it was an impressive performance.
Sure was. Okay, what about the Billy M player of the round?
Well, it's been a big week for this player, and that's Reuben Garrick from the Manly Seagulls. And he picked up 4 tries only 24 hours after becoming a father. Him and his partner had a little girl only 24 hours before Manly took on the Raiders. And, yeah, what a week it is for Reuben Garrick. So, Reuben Garrick, 4 tries and a little baby daughter. So, congratulations, Reuben. You're the player of the week, maybe the father of the week. How's that?
Yeah, good. We'll give him both. We'll give him both. No, well done. Well done to him. That was the Billy M medal. Thanks to Tab, the NRL season is here for the best time in sport. Tab has the best app in sport. Tab, we're on.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
All right, now we've got some listener questions. This one from Jeff Mulrose. Now, we've half mentioned it, but we'll get you to expand on this one, Billy. What do you make of Braden Trindle's game? You mentioned on the Sunday Footy Show that he could be a potential Origin bolter.
Well, for starters, there's no such thing as a bolter. I believe you earn your spot, and you earn it through your performances and the habits you build in the NRL, and he's starting to do that. It's certainly not beyond him. State of Origin and representative football is not beyond Braden Trindle. He's a great manager. He's obviously in front of his footy, and he thinks about his footy. Otherwise, you don't kick 2 40-20s. You're not scanning and looking for opportunities if you don't go for those 40-20s. And then the other thing is he's courageous to go after the game. If you're confident enough, when you see those opportunities, you don't hesitate. You just pull the trigger, and that's what he's doing at the moment. He's seeing the game well. He's in a good system. They play a good style of attack. He's making his tackles. He's doing a lot right, and he's certainly getting the raps for it, and he deserves it.
Yeah, well said. All right, this one from Nelson, who says, "Hi, Billy. What was your favourite post-match feed after a big game?"
That's not Nelson Asofa Solomona just thinking about having a feed, is it?
He'd have a 2-kilo steak, wouldn't he, and a pizza and spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah, for an entree, yep.
and Nick Meaney's jaw for dessert.
There's one head you don't want to run into.
No.
It's Big Nas. But look, yeah, you can sort of let yourself go. The preparation these days is so meticulous with players. I used to love a chicken schnitzel after a game, maybe some wedges, bit of sweet chili sauce. That was me.
Nice. There you go. Good question, Nelson. This one from Phoebe Dunn says, "Hi, Billy. What do you make of the Warriors halves this year? They've been flying under the radar, but are certainly the informed pairing the last couple of weeks." That's from Phoebe.
Yeah. They're still very young in their development phase of individually being an NRL player and also collectively being a partnership as NRL halves. And, you know, you marry them up to Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt, and, you know, they've got far less experience, and they've got to go through that experience to get to that level. The one thing that they do have is they're both great runners of the football. You know, Luke Metcalf's super quick, great on his feet. And Chanel Harris-Tavita, he's not a small guy. You can see the things that he can do. He put that kick up for himself, went through and scored the match-winning try on the weekend. So, when you have a bit of inexperience, you're going to have a little bit of inconsistency within your performances, but you know, they're a good team. They're coached well. They work hard, and they're all doing their job at the moment. So, full tick for the Warriors halves at the minute.
All right, good questions there. And if you want to send through your questions for Billy, then the email address is billyslaterpodcast at 9.com.au. So that's all one word, billyslaterpodcast at 9.com.au. Let's delve into round 4 of the NRL, and it gets underway this Thursday night. Interesting clash. No Nathan Cleary for the Panthers. They take on South Sydney, home game for the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the South Sydney Rabbitohs hit back. I just mentioned before against the Sharks, their kick chase was quite poor. And Wayne Bennett he's an effort area type of coach. He's a player that he's a coach that creates an accountability around those effort areas. So I would imagine that they will be much improved in that space. You know, kick chase, all the effort areas of the game. So that'll be a great match. First up on Thursday night. Sharks Bulldogs, that'll be a beauty. The Bulldogs are in a bit of form, 3 from 3, and the Sharks will, you know, they're unbeaten since coming back from Vegas. So there's some great contests. Tigers and the Warriors also.
There is. What about Battle of Brisbane on Friday night? Dolphins v Broncos, and Dolphins, they'll live for this, no doubt. Won't they?
Yeah, and the Broncos haven't been perfect. They haven't been perfect. They got an easy one early in the season, round 1 against the Roosters, but you know, they're not the finished product just yet over the last couple of weeks. And the Dolphins, they make you work hard. Won this game this time last year, and you know, the form guide to some extent goes out the window. We know what type of attitude they're going to turn up with, and you know, Christian Wolf even spoke about that after the game on the weekend, that you know, they know what it is, and they know the intensity will rise, and that'll be a beauty. When's that? Friday night?
So that's Friday night. It is Friday night at Suncorp Stadium. I guess it'll be another big crowd after last week's game, Broncos-Cowboys. It was officially in the end of sellout. So, so it should be another big one this Friday. What about, Billy, that early game on Friday night, Roosters v Titans, is an intriguing clash, isn't it?
Well, the Roosters, everyone thought they wouldn't win a game after round 1, but they fought back really well, won their round 2 clash, and then you know, they took the Warriors. They went over to the Warriors and they took it right to them. The Titans, I think they'll be really determined to back their performance up. You know, I think that's their standard now, the way that they played on the weekend against the Knights, and you know, they can go down to Sydney and you know, make it 2 from 2. Not many teams are winning on the road at the moment. I'm not sure what it is, but a lot of the teams on the weekend, the Panthers, they went down to Melbourne, they lost. The Roosters went over to the Warriors, they lost. Cowboys went to Brisbane, they lost. What else have we got?
Sharks
The
won at
Tigers
home, so
won up
South
in
lost.
Brisbane. Knights went to the Gold Coast. They lost.
Yep.
Canberra went to Manly. They lost. Something about the travel at the minute.
Wonder what it is. Could be something in the planes. Who knows? But yeah,
Going on a holiday, taking your surfboard and golf clubs.
That's it. Well, Cowboys fans are hoping that Canberra's just going up to Townsville this week for a trip to the Mad Cow and forget about playing football.
Yeah, Magnetic Island, they might be staying over there.
Yeah, who knows? Well, their former coach lived over there, Tim Sheens. I think that's where he lived when he was coaching the Cowboys.
Helicopter in.
There you go. All right, Billy. Well, we're looking forward to round 4 of the NRL. It's been another fun week. So much to discuss, and I guess round 4 is going to bring us even more talking points. So we look forward to it next week.
Thanks, Aldi.
Thanks, Billy. I'm Peter Psaltis. That's Billy Slater. This has been the Billy Slater Podcast. Thanks to Tab.